For assignment for week 3, we're going to go over the article written by Tiger and Tiger, Speed Reaching People, How to Communicate with All Types. We're going to go over the 3 techniques that they gave us in later in the book. So the first one is going to be pay attention to other people's motivations, values, strengths. I nicknamed this one, What Do People Value? A good way that I like to look at this one is pay attention to other people's motivations, their values, their strengths, their weaknesses. The way that people generally act shows what they value. People, when in a work scenario, they like to start off and lead with their best foot forward. And when they lead with their best foot forward, that tends to be one of their strengths as opposed to one of their weaknesses. A lot of the times, the things that people try and hide and try not to let come to light, those end up being their weaknesses. So, a way you can really get to talking to someone is by finding their values and trying to relate on a similar level to them and play to their strengths and their weaknesses, and trying to relate to what they value and what their motivations are. The second one is pay attention to the preferred communication style. I called this one my communication style technique. Definition for this one is pay attention to their preferred communication style, obviously. In other words, I like to say read the room. If someone's talkative, have conversation, have the small talk that you need to have. Just be a personable kind of person with them. But if someone is more reserved, a little quieter, more shy, try not to talk too much. Don't have that small talk. Don't pry, make unnecessary conversation. Just kind of get to the point and make it as natural and comfortable as possible. Don't sit there and if you're trying to have these conversations with them and they're not really about it, then there's really no use in trying to pry and make it uncomfortable for everybody. The third topic is find common ground. When we look at the book, it says, use the bridging technique to seek common ground. Bridging is the process of using the types of preferences you have in common with someone else to create a connection. I named this one Find Common Ground. Kind of when I went over this one, I wrote, find something you and the other person have in common. Try and use that to have a conversation. I recently used this one in my career field. I found out that one of the homeowners that I sold the home to, worked at the Tucson International Airport, which my aunt works at. So I asked if she knew my aunt, and kind of just made the whole thing a lot more comfortable because she did know my aunt, and it was just something we were able to kind of bond over, maybe would be the right word, but it just made the whole thing more comfortable for everybody involved. I did write, finding common ground will make everything more comfortable and natural. It is important to make sure that conversations kind of flow well in business and in small groups. It's important that it's not uncomfortable for everybody, because if things become uncomfortable, then people don't like working with people who are uncomfortable. An example I have for the communication style, I'm a little bit more of a reserved person, but sometimes when I'm with homeowners, a lot of the times they like to be very talkative, very outgoing. Sometimes I try to open up and have good conversation and constantly talk to them and just create that small talk, even though it makes me uncomfortable, but it's something that they like. And then finding what people value. An example of that is um, we call them hot buttons in my line of work, but when you know that there's something specific in house that a homeowner is really just going to sit there and hammer home on, whether it be baseboards being a certain way or the cabinets being a certain way, I like to use these values and I make sure that I make them as comfortable as I can with that particular value of theirs in their home. These are just little things that I found work for me, um, even though I'm not the most outgoing or um, talkative person out there. But thanks for listening.